Okay. Jesus. Hi, guys. Oh, my God. Wow, this is so much worse than I thought. Holy hell. Okay. I don't feel bad. I feel fine, but my voice sounds really. I think it was yesterday morning. Sometimes I open my Instagram DMs, and this was one of the videos that somebody sent to me, and it was why skateboarding sucks in 2022. And basically the person sent me this, and they're like pretty much like, hey, you should dunk on this guy. And it's pretty much no longer an option for me to do this style of video on my main channel. If I was going to try to dunk on this guy, which I'm not, but if I were, like, I can no longer use people as like a fucking alley-oop, like small skateboard YouTuber. This is what's great about Patreon. I can come on here, and this is like kind of going to be a semi-political video, I think. Unfortunately, because I've tried to stay away from the politics as much as I can, but I think this guy kind of does. He makes some okay points. I think a lot of his points are pretty shite, and I'll go over them step by step. But I respect this dude for like coming out and just speaking freely on YouTube. Why skateboarding sucks in 2022.
5 reasons why I think skateboarding sucks in 2022. Skate why. First reason, and without a doubt the one that's probably the pinnacle of why skateboarding sucks so much in 2022, is the cancel culture. I have to say, one reason I absolutely hate skateboarding at the moment is things like this are disappearing because someone's offended and upset. So we're not getting belts with this logo on anymore because it's linked to something that everyone doesn't like.
I think this guy, because he seems like he's a little bit older, has an attachment to the way that like skateboarding used to be, or whatever nostalgic version of it there is in his head. And like the independent logo has something to do with it. And he's like, basically what he's saying is like, it's cancel culture, the reason that the independent logo is not being used anymore, and they're not running it anymore. There's no denying, in my opinion, that the independent logo, the cross, it's not an iron cross exactly, but the cross itself was a very cool looking logo. And I think a lot of skateboarders associate that logo with like when they were in love with skateboarding. And logos carry a lot of power and a lot of weight, and we have nostalgic relationships to them. And the independent logo, I think, is a really good example of that. And it's a great logo. It looks, aesthetically, it's very, very cool. The problem is, and this is just, I think, an example of society kind of naturally progressing and being like, okay, this is a bit fucked, is something like the independent logo getting scrapped. I don't think that every single logo or every single thing that people ask to get scrapped at the time needs to be scrapped. There was an example of like the Trader Joe's, which if you're not from the US, I don't think they have Trader Joe's outside the US, but like Trader Joe's would, for example, if they sold pasta sauce, they would say Trader Giotto's pasta sauce, and they would print that on the label. And people were feigning outrage at that. And Trader Joe's eventually said, okay, we'll stop. And then they changed their mind. They're like, oh, actually, fuck that. We're going to keep doing it because it's fucking ridiculous. You can't write Trader Giotto's on a pasta sauce. Why? What is the problem? Is the problem that the implication is that pasta is Italian? It's like, is pasta, are we okay that food came from countries? Is that like something that is allowed to be referenced anymore? So that type of shit, I'm very glad Trader Joe's didn't give in to that, because that was just fucking beyond ridiculous. However, when it comes to something like the independent logo, it's designed by Jim Phillips, like iconic skateboarding artist, did a bunch of stuff. And while it's not the Iron Cross directly, he admits in his book, he's like, yeah, I based it off the Iron Cross. They say in this video that initially the guys at Independent, they denied the logo because they're like, it looks like a fucking Nazi logo. And then they saw that the Pope was wearing something similar on his little Pope outfit, on his Pope robes. And they're like, well, if the Pope wears it, then it's fine, even though it was based off the Iron Cross, which was a symbol used by Nazis. And the Nazis didn't invent the Iron Cross. They didn't design the Iron Cross. But that's what the symbol sort of represents. It's a symbol. It's symbolic. Many people consider it to be a highly, highly racist symbol because there's pictures of Nazis wearing it. So it's like, yeah, does the independent logo resemble it? Yeah, it definitely does. And just because it's not the exact same thing, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a good idea to keep using it. I think it's okay to leave the independent logo in the past. I think the reason this guy's upset is because he's just like unhappy that skateboarding isn't the same way that it was when he was younger. The independent logo is like a tangible version of that change, if you see what I'm saying. So, I mean, I'm reaching here with my psychoanalysis, but I think it's okay that independent doesn't use the Iron Cross logo anymore. It's pretty easy to figure out that they're quite similarly related. And like I said, I am not one of those people that is calling for every single logo to be changed and every single thing to be changed. Absolutely not. I try to keep it as rational and sane as I can. Every time there's like a political movement, something like this, I try to question it. This one, in my opinion, it's totally reasonable. Yeah, about the Independent Truck Company logo. Independent Truck Company chose the rounded cross logo at its founding in the late 1970s. From day one, the independent logo has represented the passion for skateboarding. The independent rounded cross design is not an iron cross, which has straight sides and is not a racist hate symbol. Independent Truck Company does not and has never stood for the promotion of hate. We strongly denounce all forms of discrimination, racism, hate, and racial injustice. We believe in the power of skateboarding as a positive force in the world. So part of the issue is that the new independent logo fucking sucks. I gotta be honest. Like, I just think that it's boring. And what it did is like what this guy's going to get into, which is like the edge is being removed from skateboarding. This is like their new logo is just like so safe. It's so rounded off and like characterless. It's basically just turning it into shiny SpongeBob, you know? That's what the new independent logo is. I think that if they were going to, I think that independent should have done a better logo. And I saw a Jenkem article, I think. 8 artists reimagined the new independent logo. This is fucking cool. This is cool. Looks like Autobahn or something. This is sick. Or Atari. This is sweet. This is pretty decent too. I mean, this is cool. It's kind of like trippy vibes or whatever. This is sick. This is okay. I don't really fuck with this. It just looks like Habitat. Too derivative. This is not sick either, actually. This is okay, but this is like too niche. This is like one sticker you would sell, not like all of them. This is pretty cool. I think this is pretty sick. This one's not bad either. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of options, like even from this Jenkem article that they could have selected, but instead they just go with some wiener shit. So I do think that sucks.
But weirdly, this logo gets banned and cancel cultured while a very big skateboarding magazine has Satanism. I know that one of the bands...
I'm sorry to this, dude. This is a horrible fucking argument because to say that like it's weird that the Iron Cross gets banned because it's associated with a literal fucking genocide. It's like, oh yeah, that's weird. Part of this dude's argument is that skateboarding isn't like counterculture anymore. Satanism is just like a blanket metaphor for counterculture. You know, it's like the standard in the United States is just being like a Christian, and sure, if that's what floats your boat. But Satanism isn't a real thing. Satanism is just like, hey, fuck the status quo. I'm a Satanist. I just say that to piss people off. As cringe as I think a lot of like Thrasher's aesthetics are, Satanism is a fine metaphor for skateboarding. Like, it makes a lot of sense. If skateboarding is just like, fuck everything, like we're skaters, hell ride, Satanism makes perfect sense for that. Comparing Satanism and the Iron Cross is just beyond fucking stupid. One is real, one is fake. I know he's trying to like put together a little argument here, but I'm sorry, that's a horrible take. That take is worse than your shirt, man. I mean, that shirt is fucking bad. You gotta let that thing go, dude. Why is the neck hole so big? I just want to make this clear because this is sort of a crucial to my argument about his point being bad. I think that you could take my word for it, or if you do a bit of research, you can find something like this that says Satanism is not a worldwide conspiracy. Instead, like other occult and magical belief systems, it is a response to social tensions and has emerged during time of social fragmentation. The vast majority of Satanists belong to the neo-satanic churches and represent no threat to society. And maybe you're thinking, well, I heard about this Satanist who dismembered a baby and then jumped in front of a fucking bus. Well, that doesn't mean that all Satanists believe in doing that. Just because some Catholic priest diddled some children does not mean that all Catholics believe in doing that. People do all kinds of crazy shit under the guise of religion.
Also use the symbol. There's lots of symbolic Satanism going on in skateboarding right now, and it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird that like Satan isn't cancel cultured and it's allowed, but then things like, I mean, I see it as a Celtic cross, but like the Iron Cross, whatever, that gets cancelled.
It's literally designed after the Iron Cross. The guy who designed it said so himself. So it's like, I see it as a Celtic cross. Well, it's not. It's very clear which one it's derivative from. The guy even says so.
Cancel culture, logos disappearing from skateboarding because they're linked to things that people don't like and are getting upset with. Number one reason.
Yeah, like Jews being killed by the masses. People, believe it or not, have a small opposition to that. Sorry that like inconveniences your relationship with fucking nostalgia, bro.
Reason number two why I hate skateboarding in 2022 is that certain companies in skateboarding think it's rad to not employ people based on their private medical information.
We're aware that like Vans is owned by VF Corp, and I guess VF Corp during the height of the pandemic was doing what a lot of other companies were doing, which was saying like, we're gonna do vaccine mandates. And I think that this whole situation was a fucking disaster, and I'm not gonna like act like I'm really that well informed about this. I don't feel that passionately about this. I'm not one of those people that gets like upset about the vaccine situation. I got my 2 shots. I haven't gotten boosted because I just am like, you know what? When is it going to end? Are you going to get a shot once every 6 months until COVID goes away? When is COVID going to go away? There is no like roadmap really to where it makes sense. I was down in the beginning. I wanted to participate and do what I was told because I believed that the government was, knows best, blah, 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 blah. But now when I'm thinking about it rationally, I'm just like, I don't fucking know what is going to happen with this shit. And I'm honestly not really down to get a booster vaccine every 6 months for COVID. It's just not I'm not fucking down. If anything sucks about skateboarding now, it's just that skateboarding is not immune to the general fuckery of society. Vaccine mandates because, Vans is owned by VF Corp, whatever. They're firing employees for not getting vaccinated against COVID, which is just like a placeholder for a larger issue with this subject.
Reason number 3 I hate skateboarding in 2022. We've gone from open skateboarding competitions to then dividing the sexes into male and female categories to then making sure, which I agree with, that female skateboarding competitions are paid the same as male competitions. And now, to step on top of that, we have now got biological men who define as women entering women's competitions. So you've got women who fought for women's competitions for equal prize purse, and now we've gone to allowing biological men who are taking drugs in women's competitions because they define as female. Why don't we just have open competitions? It's just getting ridiculous,
in my opinion.
So
there is a segregation in sports for like a pretty clearly defined reason. Which is that men have a biological advantage when it comes to sports versus women. Just Google any like general metric of athleticism and you will find that there is an advantage. And with this whole trans skating situation that spiraled a couple of weeks ago, people were just spewing nonsense. So this is a good example, this comment, of what I'm talking about, which is that your argument is that trans women beat you because they are men and men are better at skateboarding. Very feminist. So it's like, okay, in the context of skateboarding, you can say, in street skateboarding, you can say, oh, well, there's no rules, there's no metric, it doesn't matter. Street skateboarding is like a personal expression, so that's fine. You can say that men and women are equally good at street skateboarding if that's the position that you'd like to take. But we're talking from the men's division and the women's division, and you were to pick any of the men's finalists
and put them into the women's final, they're going to dominate. And it's crazy that I have been conditioned to feel like I'm being an asshole by saying this, by just speaking what I believe to be the objective truth. Like I am doing something wrong. And that's, I think, part of maybe skateboarding does suck a little bit, that the politics and shit gets into it so much, because there's certain things where it's like, I feel like I can't be a rational human being anymore. I have to play into some narrative and delude myself.
It makes sense why the contests are segregated. It's just fucking logical. It's fair. That's the point of it. And so now when we've created a binary system for ourselves, we say biological men go here, biological women go here. There's now a curveball being thrown into the mix, which is like, okay, well, I'm trans. I identify as a woman, but I was born as a man. I would like to compete with the women. Then it's like, oh, well, the system is not equipped to deal with you, because a trans person does not fit into either one of these binaries. So you're like in an in-between area where there are 1,000 different fucking variables, 1,000,000 variables. When did you transition? Are you on hormone therapy? How long have you been on hormone therapy? And how good were you to begin with? If you were fucking at an elite level pro skateboarder and then you transitioned and you have all the muscle memory of when you were like fucking sick, I have no fucking idea how that would affect you and how fair that is for you to join in with the women's contest. So people are trying to like create all these situations where it's like, well, maybe under these circumstances it would be fair, but the whole thing is just flawed.
Okay, so I think the problem we're faced with right now is everybody is trying to answer a question that we're not really prepared to answer yet. Like there's just not enough science or data to make any, distinct or permanent declarations about this subject, which the question is it fair for trans women to participate in biologically female sport? There is this one study. We reviewed the fitness test results and medical records of 29 trans men and 46 trans women who started gender-affirming hormones while in the United States Air Force. We compared pre- and post-hormone fitness test results of the trans women and trans men with the average performance of all women and men under the age of 30 in the Air Force between 2004 and 2014. We also measured the rate of hormone-associated changes in body composition and athletic performance. The participants were 26 years old prior to taking any hormones. So they're already in their mid-20s, and they've already experienced their puberty. So this does not take into account prepubescent hormone blockers or anything like that. These are people that have already undergone their respective biological puberties. Trans women performed 31% more push-ups and 15% more sit-ups in 1 minute and ran 1.5 miles, 21% faster than their female counterparts. Those are their biological female counterparts. After 2 years of taking feminizing hormones, the push-ups and sit-up differences disappeared, but trans women were still 12% faster. So they're no longer doing sit-ups or push-ups any better than their female counterparts, but they're still running faster. So after 2 years of taking feminizing hormones, they're still running 12% faster. And bear in mind, these are only 3 like basic metrics here. So push-ups, sit-ups, and sprinting. Like this is so vague that you can't really draw any major conclusions from this. I share this with you guys basically to say that there is such little scientific evidence or data about this subject that when it comes to skateboarding, really the best thing that I can do is just give you my own personal opinions and share my own observations from the skateboarding that I have watched, because you can't build a scientific case about this subject yet. There's just not enough information.
The good thing about skateboarding up until this point is that like for a street part or something, it doesn't matter like how you identify. It doesn't. Trans skaters, great. Street part from a trans skater, cool. Street part from a woman, cool. Street part from a man, cool. It doesn't matter because it's not a competition. When you pit people against each other and there's money on the line, I don't remember that fucker's name, Taylor whatever, who was posting about how it wasn't fair that she was competing against a trans skater. In that situation, I will say this. she fucking sucked. She wasn't a good skateboarder. In my opinion, she's lucky even to be making a living off of skateboarding as it is, because she's not an elite female skateboarder. She's just like grinding these like unknown Red Bull competitions and making money. She's not good enough to like be a pro skateboarder. The confusing thing is that when I saw the footage of the trans skater that beat her in one of the contests, and it was like, if she was an elite level pro women skateboarder, she would have beat that skateboarder. But maybe that's a whole other can of worms. But there are situations of certain trans skaters like Erin, who skates for Sci-Fi Fantasy. If she skated in a women's skateboarding competition and she did a fucking hard flip backtail 3 shove out on a flat ledge, is that fair? I don't fucking know. I've never seen a biological woman skate tech at the same level that Erin can skate tech. Like I've never seen it. So, and the problem is, it's like, if you point these things out, this is my perception of reality, this is just what I see, then it's like, I am denying Erin or whoever, I am denying somebody's gender identity by pointing this out. Do I have a solution? No, it's completely fucked. The whole thing is fucked. But I don't think that means that skateboarding sucks. This just means that skateboarding isn't immune to what's happening in general.
So number 3, skateboarding competitions and competitions in general. I miss jam formats. I miss just everyone getting together and skating together and all just trying your best and competing with yourself and not other people. But now it's got really competitive. I don't know whether it's the Olympics.
In a fucking contest, theoretically, it's turning skateboarding into a sport. That's what a contest is to figure out who's the best or who fucking performs the best on that day. Street League, as much as some people might hate Street League is a good fucking format for a skateboarding competition. It is. It's the Street League as lit as hell. It's a proper sporting event. Let's not pretend like it isn't. And I'm not going to act like I don't think that Street League shouldn't exist or something, because it's not within like the fucking spirit of skateboarding. If you said, hey man, I'm going to give you a fucking Street League ticket, or I'm going to give you a ticket to a jam format skate competition, I'm taking the Street League ticket. It's just a way better product, like entertainment wise. There's probably still a place for jam formats, but not every single thing that is different automatically makes it a step down. It doesn't automatically make it worse, because now we have like an evolved versions of skateboarding competitions.
People are taking skateboarding really seriously.
Yeah, they are taking like, what's wrong with taking skateboarding seriously? Like, I'm fucking sorry, but like a lot of these competitions and shit, they're like really entertaining, and I'm through. Even though I make fun of like contest skaters and shit, I'm not going to act like the skateboarding contest scene is an illegitimate path to pursue in skateboarding. Yeah, the guys are kooky. Yeah, their style fucking sucks. Yeah, they wear corny ass shit. They're not cool at all. However, when it comes time for fucking Street League to air on my TV, I'm turning that shit on because I like skateboarding, and these guys are little freaks of fucking nature. At the skate park. They're really good at skating skate parks, and I think it's entertaining. And I have no problem with them taking it seriously. You know what else? It's okay to make fun of these guys. It's okay to make fun of them because they are so kooky. And the other thing is, they're making fucking money. They're making money because what they're doing is highly marketable. So it's fine. Like, I'll shit on these contest skaters, and then I'll watch the contests themselves. Like, it's fine. I can do both. I kind of appreciate them, but they suck.
Is money. Money has absolutely decimated skateboarding. I remember when I first started skateboarding that a few big companies, shoe companies in particular, were trying to tiptoe into the skateboarding scene again, and skateboarders back in the early 2000s were not having it. Skater owned. Well, 2022, skater owned pretty much doesn't exist anymore. Whether it's good or bad, I am indifferent. However, money is talking, and now money is a huge impact in politics in skateboarding and the mainstream ideals that
part of this thing is people bring this up a lot about, skater-owned companies and shit. There being less of them. And yeah, that's definitely true. Skateboarding is bigger. There's a lot of like mainstream shoe brands in the mix now. But this is like a complicated thing because this is where nostalgia plays in so heavily. It's like, ask yourself this question seriously. However old this guy is, like 40 or whatever, I have no idea. do you want to be 40 years old and skating cardboard Fallen shoes? Like, actually, is that what you really want? This is a very self-serving position that this guy comes from, because it's like, this is what skateboarding was to me, and this is what I want from skateboarding. But it's like, if you're a pro skateboarder and your career is maybe from when you're 16 years old to when you're 37 years old, really good case scenario, 16 to 37, you've got like a 20, 25 year window where you're making money. You don't want to fucking skate for Fallen. You want to go skate for Adidas or Nike or something, or a company that can fucking afford to pay you a wage that's going to give you some financial flexibility in the future. You're sacrificing your formative years, the best years of your life, where otherwise you'd be learning a trade or something. You're sacrificing these years, and if you just skate for Fallen the whole time, it's like, then what do you have to show for it at the end?
You know, the other thing about skateboarders and skater-owned companies, a lot of skaters are really good at the creative side of making a company and having a vision for what they want the company to be and the products that they make. All the cool shit that goes into running a company, but all of the other shit, the minutia of actually running a business, you know, sending out the packages, keeping checks and balances, making sure everything runs on time, making sure everybody gets paid, setting up health insurance plans for the riders and stuff. All of these things, I don't think that skateboarders traditionally are very good at. You look at a company like Circa, which, if I remember correctly, at one point had some funding and had a ridiculous amount of money. I think there was tons and tons of money in skateboarding at one point. And a lot of these skater-run companies ended up just going to shit. I mean, I could be wrong about how that transpired, but, you know, the bottom line, I think, is that it's not always strictly negative for skateboarders to partner with traditional businessmen who are trained in running a successful business. See it with a company like Vans, where there's pluses and minuses, of course, to anything. Like Vans is not that core. It doesn't feel that sick. But at the same time, they pay a lot of skateboarders. They make a good product, and the business is run properly. I don't think that skateboarding is better off if the people who decide to become professional skateboarders are basically throwing away any type of financial stability. I don't think that it should be a saint-like maneuver. I don't think you should have to die on the cross like Jesus Christ to contribute to the community of skateboarding as a pro.
And now it's lame because there's Adidas, and I don't like them. But it's like, hey, but Adidas is paying people to fucking, they can survive for their contribution to skateboarding, which you care about so much. You should understand the importance of paying professional skateboarders. And I know it's not, it's complicated, and it's like, there's many facets to this issue, but I see that as being incredibly important.
However, money is talking, and now money is a huge impact in politics in skateboarding, and the mainstream ideals that were never a big part of skateboarding. Skateboarders were always anti the mainstream, and now skateboarding is completely mainstream, and money, brands, politics, opinions all seem to be following the money trail now, which is a shame to see. Skateboarding isn't so rad and forward thinking now. It's just going with whatever the mainstream thought concept is. And I think that's due to how much money is involved in skateboarding now, and how little skate brands are actually owned by skateboarders and skateboarding.
I think that this is his best point by far, which is that, like, this is him essentially just recognizing that money is changing skateboarding, which is fucking true. There's no denying that, in my opinion. I did wonder when I was looking at that Taylor May whatever situation with some of the pros commenting about it, I was like, how many of these pros are sort of saying what they are saying in the comments because it's what they need to say to project the political or the social image of the companies that they work for, like Vans, for example. You know, I do think that part of skateboarding is pretty whack, but I think it's really up to skateboarders to have your own opinion. Some people feel the need to broadcast their beliefs where they can, where they have power, and they want to be heard. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the NBA when he was playing. Like, there's a guy who has a platform and it happens to be basketball, and he wants to explain his cause on there. So I'm okay with people using skateboarding to, like, you know, be progressive.
And finally, my fifth one, which kind of circles back to my first point, is how divisive skateboarding is now. I remember it was a lot smaller in the early 2000s, wasn't so many skateboarders, and generally speaking, if I went to a skate park anywhere, you'd generally be able to speak to someone and know that you were part of this community that...
It has not been my experience, and this guy at the end of the video says he's been skating for 20 years. I've been skating for 20 years too. I was skating since I was 5, and now I'm 25. I've also been skating for 20 years, and I never felt like skateboarding was like this super welcoming community or some shit. I always felt like there were cliques and people who'd give you fucking weird looks in the skate park. There's like a whole hierarchy. There's a fucking food chain. Skateboarding culture has never been this all-encompassing and all-accepting thing that we act like it is or that it fucking once was. It's complete bullshit. It's like it's just not true. Skateboarders are an incredibly judgmental group of people, and that's why skateboarding is cool, kind of, is that we hold each other to certain standards and we fucking make fun of each other and we laugh at each other, or we put somebody down when we think they're being a fucking kook. If you don't do that, if you don't self-police in your own community, responsibly, of course, then it's like your community can go to shit. That's my opinion anyway. I do not subscribe to this notion that skateboarding has always been this fucking happy-go-lucky, like kumbaya campfire holding hands session. I just think that's total bullshit.
Was generally open-minded, freaks and geeks. I was always an outcast at school. I was always a weirdo, and now it's just so big that it's just got into being very divisive. There seems to be different groups of different people in skateboarding, and thankfully we've still got that aura, that sense of you're a skateboarder, I'm a skateboarder, let's skate. But it's definitely got more divisive in 2022, which again I think wraps it up with the cancel culture, bigger companies getting involved, money, and it's just a lot more divisive now. I think that skateboarding's been intercepted with this I'm right attitude and you're wrong attitude, and that is what is causing skateboarding to be so divided now compared to 20 years ago when I first started skating. It just seems that everyone has to have the right opinion or be correct, and that is part of the mainstream at the moment, is no one can have a difference of opinion and still get on and still just be skateboarded.
So I agree with his take on this. I just don't agree with the fact that skateboarding was ever like really welcoming or some shit. But I do agree with the fact that skateboarders will now butt heads and go against each other for things that don't have anything to do with skateboarding, or that have something to do with, you know, maybe their political beliefs or their ideologies or something. A good example of this is, and this is everywhere, you know, we used to have these family friends. They were called the Gaudreaus. That was their last name. And they were Republicans. And my dad is like very, very fucking liberal. And we would go to their house. We would hang out. We'd have a nice time. They were really good family friends. Now things are so radicalized. I can't imagine that happening anymore. That like my dad is radicalized. The Gaudreaus are probably radicalized. That friendship that used to exist, that friendship can't exist anymore. It's like it's not possible because of everyone's political leanings.
It just feels like now the priority of whatever your politics are trumps everything else, and you have to have the same political agenda as somebody else most of the time for you to be friends, which that's like the status quo now.
And I think that's a shame. I think that sucks. I wish that wasn't the case, and that absolutely applies to skateboarding now. And everybody's to blame. Everybody that falls into that trap is to blame, and it's like an us versus them situation. You know, I have friends that are trans. I have friends that are non-binary. I don't know. I would like to think that I could also like skate with Wrecking Ball if it came down to it. But like, I think that Wrecking Ball and, you know, people on the left, like, they're just throwing stones at each other, like from across the aisle, and that like common ground of both everybody, you know, both sides being skateboarders doesn't really exist. Just the fact that they're both skateboarders means that they're like designated into this particular battlefield. I would like to be able to disagree with somebody politically and still maintain a friendship.
When the Taylor thing was happening, a lot of the younger girls that I would follow would post and say, if you don't think trans women belong in women's skateboarding competitions, then unfollow my page and block me. And it's like, that's the standard now for when there needs to be discussion. It's like, it's all or nothing. Either you have to 100% agree with me, or I don't want to speak to you anymore. And I think that that is just a really unproductive way of going about your life in general. I think that if you only surround yourself with people that agree with you, you're never going to be intellectually challenged. And the nuance of every situation will just be lost on you because you're only putting yourself in an echo chamber. I think that's extremely dangerous in general. And unfortunately, this situation is now present in skateboarding.
Your opinion isn't my opinion.
You're not a core skateboarder. You're not a core skateboarder if you haven't got the same opinion as me.
You can have your opinion, but you can't seek refuge from reality with your opinion. Or it's like, I think the fucking independent logo should be allowed because it looks more like a Celtic cross. Well, it's fucking not. The guy who designed it will tell you otherwise. So it's like, does that mean your opinion is no longer valid? Kind of. So maybe you shouldn't hide behind that.
Why are we becoming such a mainstream piece of community? It's sad to see, really. That's my 5 reasons of why skateboarding sucks in 2022.
Okay, so, I think he had some okay points. The Satanism thing was just a horrible example. But yeah, I just wanted to use this to like sort of catapult Red Bull rant my way through some touchy things that I think maybe you guys would be interested in. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, honestly, let me know in the comments. And I feel like a dickhead saying that because usually that's something that people say to like boost the algorithm or something, but this is Patreon. There's no fucking algorithm. Like, that's why we're here. So I hope that we can have a community on here because I can't control what happens on YouTube. I mean, there's psychos on YouTube. People are fucking insane. I've pretty much given up on trying to be reasonable on YouTube. It's just a fucked up world out there. But I hope here on Patreon, we can have a respectful conversation about things that are sensitive, and it doesn't have to turn into you're a bigot, you're an asshole. Even if you think that somebody is being a bigot or an asshole, maybe you think I'm being a bigot or an asshole. Maybe you can explain to me or explain to someone else who may be commenting why you don't agree with them instead of just tossing buzzwords at them. So let's try to avoid that. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.